I never expected a snowplow would make me the neighborhood villain. But if you'd seen the mess I ended up in, you might wonder how anyone could stay quiet. My name's Zachary Morrison. I bought a house in Willow Creek Estates 3 years back, right when I was 32, thinking I'd found a place where I could finally exhale. The streets were quiet. The HOA seemed harmless and folks waved but didn't pry. I run a landscaping business, Morrison's Outdoor Services. Winters I pivot to snow removal, which is where all this trouble found me. Last November I shelled out $45,000 for a brand new pickup with a commercial grade plow. Honestly, it was a risk, but I had contracts lined up, everything from residential driveways to business lots, even a few municipal gigs in neighboring towns. You ever pull an 18-hour shift in a snowstorm? You know the kind of money you can bring in if you're willing to work while everyone else is sleeping. That's what I was doing that Tuesday morning in December, nursing my coffee and checking the weather. They were calling for 6, maybe 8 inches by sundown. Right about then, Patricia Winters showed up. She's our HOA president, late 40s. Can I speak to your manager? Haircut, always clutching a clipboard like it's a badge. She's got that smile that never makes it to her eyes. Zachary. Good morning, she said, peering past me at the truck in my driveway. I could tell where this was heading before she even started. Turns out the HOA board had a little meeting and they wanted me to give back Plow, the community's common areas, and some elderly neighbors' driveways. For free. You can probably guess my answer. I told Patricia as politely as I could that this was my job. My livelihood and equipment like mine didn't run on warm feelings. She tried that neighborly guilt trip, but I didn't budge. I even offered a fair rate. She didn't like that. Her smile faded, replaced by disappointment, like I'd just failed some test. That night the snow came in just like the forecast said. I spent all night making my rounds, clients happy, business thriving, feeling dead on my feet but proud of what I'd built. By the time I got home, the county had already cleared the roads. My driveway was my last stop before sleep. I woke up to a phone that looked like it owed me money. 17 missed calls, a stack of texts, most from Patricia, a few from other board members. The tone started out sweet, then veered into community obligations, then violations. The last one, emergency HOA meeting. Your attendance is mandatory per section 4.7 of the bylaws. This concerns your violation of community standards. I didn't know what the hell I'd violated. That evening, I walked into the clubhouse, HOA bylaws in hand, first time I'd really read them. The place was packed. Patricia presided at the front, flanked by her crew Karen, with her highlighted hair and permanent frown. Margaret, the treasurer, Tom, and Douglas, the quiet vice president. Patricia's speech made me sound like Scrooge with a snowplow making money while old folks struggled to dig out, refusing to help unless paid exorbitant rates. I stood up, heart pounding but steady. That's not exactly accurate, I said. You want commercial work for free. I offered my standard rate. Karen jumped in, called it price gouging. I explained the costs, insurance, fuel, repairs. None of them cared. Douglas mumbled something about optics, about how it looked when I drove past neighbors shoveling while I had the big rig. They didn't want help, they wanted free labor, and they wanted to make an example out of me. Then Patricia pulled out the power move, proposed a new rule right there. Anyone running a snow removal business in the neighborhood had to plow the common areas and certain driveways or face fines $250 a day. They voted hands up, motion passed. Just like that. I left furious but determined. I dug into HOA law that night and called a lawyer the next day. Stephen Ramirez, sharp guy, understood exactly what was happening. They're overreaching, he said, but fighting HOAs is a grind. They use community funds, you pay out of pocket. He gave me options: comply under protest, refuse and pay while we fought it, or his favorite, get creative. If you're required to plow, they didn't say how. Just don't damage anything or block access. Well, I took that advice and hatched a plan. The next snowstorm hit Friday night, big one, 12 inches easy. I knocked out my paying clients first. By 2 a.m., I was back in Willow Creek ready to do what I was required to do. I started with the elderly residents, real people, none of whom had even been at that HOA meeting. I cleared their driveways properly. Mrs. Chen came out in her bathrobe and called me a good boy. Made me smile. Then I moved to the common areas. The clubhouse lot was first with a row of mailboxes along the sidewalk, about 40 in all. Normally you'd pile snow along the back fence, but Patricia hadn't given me specifics, so I made a pile in front of the mailboxes. Every pass added to the wall of snow 3 feet 4, 5, 6. By the end, those mailboxes were entombed. Same trick at the cul-de-sacs. The snow had to go somewhere, so the mailbox clusters got buried under neat, towering piles. By sunrise, everything Patricia had asked for was plowed to perfection, except, of course, those mailboxes. I had photos. The walkways were clear, the driveways immaculate. I went home and slept like a kid who's just pulled the world's best prank. Patricia blew up my phone at 9:30. I let her stew for 10 calls, then answered. She was screaming, "You buried all the mailboxes. I had to put the snow somewhere." I said, "That's how plowing works." She threatened fines, accused me of property damage. I told her no damage. Mailboxes are sturdy. The snow will melt eventually. But if you want it moved now, $300. She hung up. Within the hour, I had a formal fine from the HOA, $500 for willful property obstruction. I sent it straight to Stephen. He laughed. "You did nothing wrong. Let them keep digging." And dig they did. Residents had to fetch mail from the post office lines stretched out the door. Patricia tried to organize a snow shoveling party. A dozen people showed made little progress. 6 feet of packed snow is no joke. Quotes for professional snow relocation started at $400. Patricia refused to pay. Instead, they raised my fines to $1,000. Stephen fired off a cease and desist. The HOA ignored it. Some neighbors started blaming me, shooting me dirty looks, but not everyone. Marcus Thompson. 2 streets over, stopped me in the grocery store. "Not everyone thinks you're the bad guy, Zachary. This isn't right." That meant something. But the HOA didn't stop, placed a lien on my house for unpaid fines. Stephen assured me it wouldn't hold up, but seeing that legal notice was like a punch to the gut. Next snowfall, same routine. I did my jobs, then plowed the HOA's designated areas. Again, the mailboxes vanished under the fresh snow. By now, the original piles were solid ice, new snow on top. The post office started to get involved. The postmaster, Gerald, came to an HOA meeting, told them mail delivery would be suspended if the boxes weren't cleared. Patricia tried to blame me, but Gerald cut her off. "Mailboxes are the HOA's responsibility. You made him plow for free. You didn't set rules for snow placement. That's on you." He gave them 48 hours. Patricia's fury turned volcanic. "You're destroying this community." I told her I was doing exactly what I was told. "You know exactly what you're doing," she said. "Yeah," I answered. "I'm running a business, not a charity." The meeting dissolved into shouting. Douglas, the vice president, finally spoke up. "Maybe we should just pay him. This is getting out of hand." Patricia refused to give an inch, but it was clear her grip was slipping. Eventually, the HOA hired a company to dig out the mailboxes. $800. I sipped my coffee and watched from the window. 2 days later, another storm, same result. Patricia filed a police report, said I was vandalizing federal property. Officer Davies showed up deadpan as a guy could be. I explained, he nodded. "Sounds like a civil dispute. No crime here." He even told me quietly he didn't like what Patricia was trying to pull. But the stress was real. The HOA sued, claimed I'd violated bylaws, sought $10,000 in damages. Stephen countersued for harassment, abuse of authority, labor law violations. Now we were in the thick of it. Discovery unearthed emails Patricia and Karen had plotted against me for months, even before I bought my plow, called me names, joked about making me miserable till I left. There were also some pretty shady charges on the HOA card meal, shopping, even a weekend getaway. As winter dragged on, the community changed. Beth Simmons, a neighbor, started a Facebook group, Willow Creek Truth. Folks shared their own horror stories about the board. Turns out my case was just the most visible. In March, a recall petition reached 40% of the homeowners. The election was brutal. Patricia, Karen, and their supporters were ousted, replaced by a new board that repealed the mandatory service policy, paid my legal fees, and audited the HOA's finances. The audit found $12,000 in personal spending by Patricia. She was arrested for theft and fraud, Karen as an accessory. The judge dismissed the HOA suit against me, called their actions punitive, targeted, and ultimately illegal. He said HOAs are not feudal lords. Mr. Morrison cannot be compelled to work for free. That felt like vindication. Spring came. The snow melted, revealing the mailboxes unharmed. Life in Willow Creek settled. Mrs. Chen brought cookies. Marcus invited me to a barbecue. Even neighbors who'd blamed me came around. Patricia pleaded guilty, got probation, and community service moved out 6 months later. My business grew, word got around that I didn't roll over. A local reporter asked me what I'd learned. I told her standing up for yourself is exhausting and expensive but necessary. You can't force someone to work for free and expect them to smile. If they'd offered fair compensation from the start, we could have worked something out. But they chose force over fairness. I started helping others, neighbors from other HOAs, folks like Amanda from Montclair, Phil from Paramus, all struggling with boards that thought power meant control. My advice: document everything. Stay professional. Let them overreach and show their true colors. That's how you win, slow, steady, with proof. By summer, New Jersey passed new laws. HOA reform with bans on mandatory service transparency rules, better appeals. I got invited to speak. Weird, right? All because I wouldn't give away my work for free. In the end, that's the lesson: bullies with a little power always push too far. If you stand your ground, you force change, not just for you, but for everyone. Now, when snow falls over Bergen County, I plow like always, professional, fair, proud of my work. The mailboxes stand clear, the lots are safe, and I know nobody will ever bully me or anyone else here into working for free. That's how it should be, don't you think? But here's what I want to know. Where's the line between community and control? At what point does helping out become exploitation? Have you ever been pushed to your limit by people who thought their rules mattered more than your life? I'd love to hear how you handled it. Drop your story below, because sometimes the only way things change is when regular folks decide enough is enough.